Hey everyone! So today, seeing as Xiao is finally getting re-released, I thought I'd make a Xiao build for all the people who managed to finally get their hands on the magnificent anemo main DPS, and so with that, let's move on to the video. But before that, if you do enjoy this video, then consider giving it a like and subscribe, it helps out a ton. So first up, let's start with Xiao's weapons. So firstly, his best insult weapon is the primordial Jade Wind Spear. So this amazing polearm offers crit rate, and with Xiao already getting crit rate from his ascension, with this weapon he will already be getting around 40% crit rate, and that's without any artifacts, which is so good. Now the passive will increase your attack by 3.2% every time you hit an enemy, maxing at 7 stacks, whereupon you will gain a 12% damage boost, which is crazy good. And like with most polearm users, they attack really fast, and so while 7 stacks seems like a lot, it definitely is manageable, and as long as you can keep up these stacks throughout the fight, you will see some crazy DPS. Now next up we have the Staff of Homer, which is also really good and can be better than the primordial Jade Wind Spear depending on the circumstances with it. But just before that, let's go over the weapon. So it firstly gives you crit damage, which is very good on Xiao, as you're already going to be getting crit rate from its ascension ranks. Next, it will give you HP, which is pretty good, as by itself it's not bad, but with the passive giving you bonus attack per 0.8% of the user's HP and increasing to 1% of the user's HP when below 50% HP, it is so good. Now this Staff of Homer can actually be better in some situations, as long as you can maintain this 50% passive. However, this is quite difficult, as you will need Zhongli to shield some of the damage, as well as during his burst he will lose HP, so you also have to be mindful of that. But now moving on to the 4 stars, we first have the Deathmatch. So this 4 star will give you crit rate, which is very nice, and the passive will increase your attack and defense by 16% if there are at least 2 opponents, and if there are fewer than 2, then his attack will instead be increased by 24%. So this is really good, passive is really nice. However, this is a battle pass weapon, so if you're free to play, this may be hard to obtain. But now next we have the Black Cliff Spear. So this gives you crit damage, and the passive will increase your attack by 12%, maxing at 3 stacks whenever you kill an enemy. And so this passive is a little situational, as if you're in a battle with a single opponent or boss, then this passive won't do much. However, the crit damage stat is still very good. But now moving on, we reach his artifacts. So for this, the best insult for Xiao is the 2-piece Viridescent Veneer and the Gladiator's Finale, or the Shimenawa's Reminiscence, seeing as they both offer the same increase in attack. So this will offer the best damage increase for Xiao, and the reason we don't run a 4-piece Viridescent Veneer is we're not gonna really be infusing elements in this swirl, so we can't really take advantage of that passive, and so that's the reason we only run 2-piece and 2-piece Gladiators for the damage. But now for the actual artifacts themselves, we're gonna be running a attack percentage sands, as again we're a main DPS, so we're gonna need as much attack as we can get. The goblet will be an anemo damage bonus as well. Attack is amazing, diversifying our damage sources is the best way to go, as well as the fact during the burst you'll only be dealing anemo damage, so increasing this as much as possible is really good. Now the circuit is going to depend on what you need. If you already are running a crit rate weapon, probably have a decent amount of crit rate, so crit damage would be good. Otherwise, run a crit rate circlet, looking for a 1:2 ratio crit rate crit damage. Now for the substats, crit rate, crit damage, again is the first and best increase to Xiao's damage. Next is attack percentage. You could also run flat attack here, but percentage performs a lot better. And lastly, NG recharge, as we've established, getting to your burst as fast as possible is very vital to playing Xiao to his utmost potential. Moving on, we have his Constellations. Most are pretty decent. However, notable ones include a C1, which gives him an extra charge for his elemental skill, which is a straight DPS increase, as well as his C6, which increases his damage so much when dealing with multiple enemies. But overall his Constellations aren't super good, so don't feel you need to go for them, as it can be played perfectly well without them. Now as for his talents, we want to first focus on his attack. So this may be unusual, as often we like to focus on burst or skill, but seeing as Xiao, to maximize his damage, he's gonna be plunging down, and so leveling his normal attack will in fact increase the plunge damage, so make sure you do that first. Next you can do either his burst or his skill, but usually his burst is better to decrease the HP loss during his burst is really good, especially if you're having trouble with his survivability. And now finally we come to his teams. So Xiao is in an interesting spot, being a character that doesn't really rely on anyone, as Anemo doesn't really have that good reactions and instead deals most of his damage by himself, and so that means his teams can be quite flexible. And so the first team I like to run is Xiao, Albedo, Zhongli and Bennett. So for this team, the main thing you want to look out for is the 2 Geo characters, which will allow Xiao to get the Geo Resonance bonus, which is a huge 15% increase in damage when protected by a shield. And Bennett is there to provide heals. So this team does amazing, as Xiao can sometimes have problems with survivability due to how his burst works with the HP decrease and all, and so by having a shield character, i.e. Zhongli, and a heal character, Bennett, it will help circumvent this problem. Now you could swap out Bennett for someone like Jean if you have her, as she can provide heals, but she's also a Nemo unit, meaning you'll get the Anemo Resonance, which is very good on Xiao. But overall, any character can do decently well on the Xiao team. The main things you want to look out for is ways to make sure Xiao doesn't die during its burst, so as long as you can do that, you should be doing fine. Another thing to look out for is a battery for Xiao, as he does require a lot of energy for his burst, so having good batteries will help this as well. But now, that is my Xiao guide. He is an incredibly good character that has some of the highest damage in the game, and so if you did manage to get him during the latest rerun, then use this build to maximize his damage and make him your next favorite character. But now if you did enjoy this video, then leave a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.